Hey, hi, how you doing? This is the Gamertron, and welcome back to the Gamertron Show. Alright, Titan pilots, make sure your data knife is calibrated, your jump pack is full of fuel, you got some spare magazines for your smart pistol, and stand by for Titanfall.
Short on fuel and supplies, the first militia fleet is unlikely to survive their next encounter with the IMC battle group in pursuit.
I love Titanfall. Titanfall has easily become one of my favorite games of all time, one of my favorite first-person shooters of all time. This was easily one of the best games of 2014. As a matter of fact, it was number 2 on my top 10 games of 2014 video. You should totally go watch that video. Here's a link. But aside from the shameless self-promotion, let's talk about an awesome, revolutionary, innovative, and just downright great video game, Titanfall. There's a reason Titanfall has ended up in a lot of top lists, a lot of top countdowns. For parkour, for action, for mechs, for just standout first-person shooter and game of the year. And there's a reason to this day that there are still new players, there are still people buying Titanfall. We are receiving new Titan pilots literally every day. There is a reason there is a steady community on Titanfall and why people continue to play this game even a year, almost a year after its launch. And that's because Titanfall gets two things very right. It gets two very important things when it comes to an action game very right. So many action video games try to get this right. They try to get the perfect balance and feel, but so many games just don't make it. But Titanfall gets these things right, and that's movement, player movement, and fast-paced action. Now, if you know anything about Titanfall, you probably already know that your player characters, your playable characters, the Titans and the pilots, are both, surprisingly, pretty light on their feet. The pilots using a heavy emphasis on parkour and wall running and double jumping, and the Titans sprinting and dashing. With Titanfall, there is literally never a dull moment, and the game never encourages a dull moment in the game. Everything's fast, everything's moving. The Titans are not slow, mechanical husks. They're efficient and powerful fighting machines. And as much as I love Titans, and believe me, I love the Titans, you can sometimes forget to even get in or use your Titan. You sometimes even forget Titanfall, the title aspect of the game, Titanfall, bringing down your Titan, summoning your Titan, can easily be forgotten when you're just wall running, double jumping, outrunning Sonic the Hedgehog, basically. Titanfall at times almost feels like that first-person parkour platformer that people wanted from Mirror's Edge. The parkour system and the wall running are easy to get into. They're simple, easy to use, but mastering it and using your abilities of movement and speed at the right time to get some good momentum and get from one side of the map to the other in under 10 seconds, that takes timing and skill, but is completely possible. Every player has this opportunity and ability. And when every player is doing this, every one of your fellow and enemy pilots are doing this, wall running, parkouring, double jumping, it's just a ballet, a ballad of speed, adrenaline, gunfire, explosions, and enemies and friendlies flying through the air, using the architecture, the momentum, the situation to get an edge in combat. There really is no other feel, no other experience, no other game like Titanfall when it comes to pilot on Titan, or Titan on Titan combat. There's just so much speed, so much adrenaline. Titanfall is the first-person shooter that just nails movement, character and player movement, at least fast-paced movement. While of course there's nothing wrong with a shooter that's slow and tanky, requires you just to be a bit more focused, but when it comes to fast-paced adrenaline, moment-to-moment twitch shooting, Titanfall just nails it, hits the ball right out of the park. Now I talked about how Titanfall gets two things right, movement and just fast-paced, explosive action. Now it's kind of funny that it gets two things right, and each of the two playable characters define how Titanfall gets these things right. With the pilots, they mostly show and prove how Titanfall gets movement right. But with the Titans, they show how Titanfall gets the fast-paced, explosive action right. Now with the pilots, of course you get some fun gear. Your different types of explosives, grenades, arc grenades, satchel charges, your anti-Titan weapons like the Sidewinder and the Archer rocket launcher, they both pack a punch and create some explosive chaotic results. And of course we cannot forget the primary weapons, the EVA 8 shotgun, the R101C carbine, and of course the Smart Pistol, which creates some chaotic, fun, bombastic, flashy shootouts. But throw the Titans into the mix, with their huge and heavy destructive weaponry that usually always end up blowing everything up. From dropships to specters to Titans themselves. Everything explodes, and explosions. When it comes to explosions, you have to get a lot right in terms of design and the way it affects the player. They have to look powerful, they have to look dangerous, they also have to look like a visual spectacle. There has to be the right amount of flame and smoke. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Titanfall has some of the best explosions ever to see in a video game. They're animated and designed in such a way that every time you see an explosion on screen, and since they're in such a constant display, the action just never slows down. It always keeps things intense and frantic, chaotic, bombastic, and just such a visual treat. The Titans add that extra kick, that extra firepower, and with them constantly exploding, and of course, performing Titanfall, there's just an orgy of explosions and actions, adrenaline-fueled visual spectacles. Titanfall just always keeps you engaged. I've never seen a multiplayer game like Titanfall have the action-packed set-piece moments, the action-packed chaotic shootouts that you usually only ever find in single-player games, such as Binary Domain, Call of Duty, Just Cause 2, the Transformers Cybertron games. I never thought I could see a multiplayer game emulate that kind of adrenaline, that kind of action, those kinds of set-piece visual spectacle moments. And the Titans and their firepowers and their actions and abilities provoke that. And then all of that mixed with the movement and speed and mobility of the pilots, giving players this freedom to explore and engage the map in such a way that even playing on the same maps over and over again feels fresh, because there's always a different way to wall run. There's also always something you can climb up, a higher vantage point to exploit, chaining buildings and other objects to wall run, finding the optimal route from point A to B. There's just no other game, if not very few games, like the movement presented in Titanfall, and like I said, combine that with the action, and you have a first-person shooter, a video game, an action-packed video game that just stands out amongst others. And that is how Titanfall does movement and fast-paced action right. So, enlist in the IMC or the militia today and earn your Titan pilot certificate and get out there on the frontier. There is ass to be kicked. This has been the Gamertron, this has been the Gamertron Show, this has been a video. If you liked the video in any way whatsoever, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. Leaving a like helps me, helps you, helps the video as a whole. Leaving a like just helps. So please consider leaving a like. Please leave a comment in the comment section below. Have you played Titanfall? What do you think of Titanfall? Do you agree with me what I said about Titanfall? What is your opinion on the video as a whole? Let me know in the comments below. I love getting comments. I don't get nearly enough comments. Please leave a comment. And finally, if you're new to the show and just stumbled across this video, I'm a guy who loves video games and loves talking about video games, and if that's something you may be interested in, please consider subscribing to my channel and supporting me. This has been the Gamertron, this has been a video, and I will see you guys later.